Welcome back.
Hello, Deborah.
Good morning.
Did this happen to you as well? The opening kind of stuttered, it stopped? Or did you
Not on
see
my
it?
end. No, it was smooth. It was good.
Oh,
It was
really?
good.
Because on my side, it kind of like cut out, and that immediately stressed my mind. My mental toughness disappeared. Deborah, do you think you're mentally tough?
I do. The mental toughness, the resiliency. Yes, I do, Moreno, and not for lack of working on it, because I have diligently been working on it over the years. So, what about you? Like, do you think you're mentally tough?
Do you know the answer is not a simple one because it depends. And you may ask, depend on what? Well, it depends on what time period we're looking at. In general, over long term, I guess my answer would be yes. However, what's important is what is happening and the time. For example, yesterday many things were happening and I felt somewhat stressed. I felt that my mental toughness was waning. I wanted it to be stronger than it appeared to be. Different things were not working out as expected, and I foresaw difficulties, problems, instead of opportunities for doing things differently.
So let me ask you a question. How quickly, when you notice that, two things, that you actually notice that you're stressed and that you've got all this stuff going on, and the time frame it takes for you to actually take action and to take a step forward?
What is the question?
So how quickly do you actually notice that you're under the stress and things become chaotic? How
Immediately.
immediately? Okay, which is great, because that is a sign of mental toughness. That is a sign of the you're developing certain aspects of the brain that you can immediately notice when you're in that state, so that now you have that awareness that you could do something about it.
That's interesting concept. You may want to explain more about that later on. What I
Definitely.
found though was that after that initial stress, I would sit back and just think about, okay, what is the meaning of this?
Mhm.
How intense is it? How critical is it? How important is it? How urgent is it? And once I kind of defined the issue around those parameters, I then thought about how I would go about solving the issue, knowing, of course, what my ultimate goal objective would be.
That's a great thought pattern. And taking by asking those specific questions takes you through. The other thing I would consider asking yourself, what state do I want to be in that will allow me to more effectively and quickly solve the problem?
A relaxed state, a calm state, super important. Always got to be calm. The moment we are no longer calm, we lose all powers of rationale and things just spiral out of control and get worse. And we start crying.
Yeah, tears, not tears of joy in the moment, correct? That's later.
Deborah, before we continue, I want to remind those who are listening in, if you have a question, please type it in the comments section in the chat, either YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. We may not get to see those questions immediately, but we will certainly address your questions either during at the end of this live session or after. Also heard, Deborah, people say that people are mentally tough, they are aggressive people. People that are not easy to get along, they very assertive, ultra assertive, arrogant. Do you agree with that? Try
Well,
that.
okay, there are aspects to it where it could be true because we have this connotation that perhaps the word tough means aggressive, or a bit of a bully, when in fact the mental toughness, I view it as a form of resiliency or pliability or flexibility or agility in the brain itself. So the brain is actually mentally fit. You can have a deep awareness in the present moment of what's going on, understanding the thoughts that are going through your head, how it's interacting with behavior and habits, and then noticing outside of you the results that you're getting, because the results that we get outside here, outside of our body, is really as a result of past thinking in the head and patterns that we have in the head. So noticing the noticing part of it, the awareness part of it is a very big prospect. And then flipping into the future and figuring like what I view this as almost like a windshield wiper process where you're in the present moment right now, but then you're sweeping to the future of what you want to have instead, sweeping back to the past of maybe not so great experiences or past experiences that have not been positive that are similar and where you want something different, or past experiences where things have gone exceptionally well, and then sweeping those forward into the present moment and then back and forth to the future. I like the idea of flipping the mind back and forth because this allows you to utilize the full creativity of the brain and visualization process, which is very necessary to get fast results.
I like the descriptive words that you used at the beginning relating to calmness and tranquility, being in control, which implies that um, calm people have a strong mind. They don't necessarily need to be aggressive, hard people. Quiet people can be in control and have strength of mind. What I like, you also mentioned about going backwards and forwards, and that immediately brings to mind that a person knows where one is and one knows where one is going. In other words, where the end goal is, and that there is a plan in between from going from one point to another. And we are going to talk about these later on, where they serve to strengthen the mind to become mentally fit.
Yeah, Marina, one comment I want to make about the whole idea of being calm is that using the analogy of a duck who was very calm across the surface of the water, but underneath those little legs are going pretty darn quick. So we have this sense sometimes when we look at a person outwardly, they may have the control and appear to be calm, but inside their brain is very scrambled and they're panicking on the inside. It may not be showing visibly on the outside. And so I really want to make the distinction here that when somebody is mentally tough and they've got the mental resiliency, they are very mentally fit. They are calm on the outside as well as on the inside, both.
You know, when a person doesn't show that one is not in control, in other words, one appears to be in control, but inside they're in a turmoil, I think that that could be called positive stress. Whereas when a person is outwardly out of control, that person is manifesting negative stress. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. And the whole idea is you want to leverage the very best part of the brain, particularly the creative part of the brain and the prefrontal cortex, which is where we do our planning, logic, thinking, organizing, innovation, navigation. It is a very valuable part of the brain. So we want to have access to it. And if you're under high levels of stress, it's like that gate slamming shut and not allowing you access to that part of the brain. So we want the gates to open. We want to be able to use the brain very effectively. And so being able to manage the emotions and manage the physical state of the body, calming the body down, calming down cortisol and adrenaline becomes critically important.
A person who has no stress is dead.
True.
Everyone must have stress to be alive, and it's either positive stress or negative stress. And to perform, we need positive stress. If you look at any high performing athlete, just before the event, let's say it's a track race, that athlete is definitely not calm and relaxed and serene. That athlete is hyped up, ready to go, totally focused, ready for the gun to go off. That's positive action, ready to explode. And we can use that as a metaphor to everything else that we do in life, that before we're going to do something significant, we need to have positive stress, which gets us ready for top performance. Deborah, I want to show you this. To achieve, or let me read it out. There's a percentage of achievement due to skill, genius, and intelligence. And achievement can also be due to this other category of mental toughness, confidence, commitment, focus, tenacity, resilience, and determination. And I know that you know that this is the division between the two. So my question to you is, why do you think that our power of achievement is only 30% from our skill, genius, and intelligence, and a whopping 70% is due to the other category? Why do you think this distinction exists?
If I'm going to create an analogy here, give an equivalency, if we're talking about business, in terms of business structure, systems, processes, our habits, which come from our behaviors, which are consistent behaviors, and our ability to really think through problems and challenges, that's where the 30% would come in. So the skill set, we need to develop the three attributes of skill set and our ability to take action. And so when we take the distinction of the 70% being our ability to focus, that's an ability to take action. If you're super laser focused, you're going to work through issues and problems and challenges, and then you're going to take the appropriate action steps to move forward. So the skill set and the action sets become really critical, but also the mindset piece becomes critical. So I would say the skill set, the genius, and the intelligence is really like the overall function or the framework of how a business would work. But you need the other part of it to drive it forward. You need the confidence, you need the belief systems, you need the consistency and the focus to make all those things work. So if you don't have that fuel, essentially, it is not going to work.
I like that description, how you separate the two. I want to give a simpler explanation by using something more tangible that everyone is more familiar with, the car. One can equate the skill, genius, and intelligence to the fuel in the car, and all the other parameters to the structure of the car, the wheels, the engine, the body, the suspension, the exhaust, the linear design. With the fuel is very important. However, all the other components are far more important to get you from A to B. The fuel alone is not going to get you there. And yes, all the other components without the fuel is not going to get you there either. However, the actual car itself clearly is very important. Even if you think about getting there safely and comfortably, the design of the car is critically important.
So if you were to take all the different components of a vehicle and lay them all out, like my dad used to do when he worked on a car, if he took the car apart, he laid in order as he was taking the car apart, so he knew the order to put everything back again. So the entire floor of the garage would be covered with all these parts. So there's an order and a process to putting each of these parts together, so it makes sense to be able to have the success to achieve a particular goal or to make a business run properly, or to be able to lose weight, or to get the body fit, or to get the mind fit, whatever we're trying to achieve, there's an order and a process for how things work. And so the fuel, I would say the fuel is the reasons why you want things done, why it's of value. And that can be based on belief systems. And the fuel is something that's that inner inspiration that would drive you forward, the confidence and the faith of why something is important and valuable to you, and why you're going to pursue it and put the effort into doing something. So there's kind of different ways of looking at the mindset and how we would use that analogy. But definitely, both of those elements are important. They go together. That 30%, the 70%, they go together. One doesn't work without the other.
I can hear that there is order and structure in your explanation. It's systematic. It has to be. Because what is the opposite of that? Chaos. Things do not work unless they are, as you say, clearly laid out and working together in tandem.
I mean, when you think of chaos, Moreno, when we think of chaos, things being chaotic in the mind, people can suffer from extreme stress and anxiety and panic attacks. And they say that it's about 1 in 4 people suffer from extreme anxiety. A lot of that can be alleviated. We've got solutions to that, so that to calm the brain down. And if you are mentally tough, you actually have the ability to build your mental muscles and become more mentally fit. Really working on the mindset component, all of that can change for the positive.
Yes. Let's talk about the benefits quickly. The benefits of being mentally tough. Like, I've got some notes here. Mental toughness enables you, Deborah, to manage your stress, pressure, challenges, and chaos in life. I can see you nodding.
Definitely.
And because you're mentally tough, you can breeze through the tough times and remain optimistic. And
Yeah, I would say from the benefits of mental toughness is, I would look at 2 aspects there that are really important: the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And the fixed mindset, when we're stuck doing things in a very specific way, old patterns, old habits, without innovating or eliminating the limiting beliefs or the limiting decisions, we're stuck in a saboteur mindset. We're sabotaging ourselves and we're limiting ourselves. Whereas if we have a growth mindset, that is what we refer to as the sage part of the brain, where the deeper wisdom comes from. And so I think there's a lot, we're human beings that naturally want to grow. We want to contribute and add value and develop ourselves in the process. And it's important that we choose the growth mindset rather than the fixed mindset if we want to progress our life.
And this is very important, because the better we are able to handle stress and pressure, the more likely we are to enjoy life. Whereas those that can't manage stress and pressure, they crack.
Yeah, you hit a very key point, which is the happiness and enjoyment of life. I mean, ultimately, that's why we're here, right? To enjoy life without causing harm to ourselves and without causing harm to other people. So there has to be real positive intention behind that of how we create our happiness.
Yes. Let's look at the 4 aspects for becoming mentally tough. The first one is control. And I think it's very important to be able to control our emotions. We all want control. And really the only part that we can control is us internally. Externally, we are mostly out of control. We cannot control what is happening around us. And when we see that we cannot control things around us, then we become stressed. So it is better to focus inwardly and control our own emotions. which we can do. And that will help us become mentally stronger.
So the controlling emotions, here's the way that I look at it. The emotions come from a thought process, a specific thought process. And so thoughts that we have in our mind create images and pictures which we've attached meaning to, and those lead to specific emotions. If we maintain those negative thoughts, those limiting thoughts, and control our emotions, we're going to create an inward stress. And that's going to come back to haunt us at some point. It's going to create a lot of problems. It'll manifest in different ways, whether it's health issues or that sort of thing. So I think it's really important that while we're controlling our emotions, we must control our thinking, what it is that the thoughts and the thinking process, so that we are naturally creating from the positive thinking, the more creative thinking, the more innovative the gifts and opportunities, and the possibilities of what's, and being curious about what's possible from a growth mindset, then we naturally create the very positive emotions, and the two are aligned. Because if you don't align the thought process and the emotions, we end up having this, and that creates a lot of unnecessary stress within the body.
And to control our thought processes, this is what we need. It needs to start with the goal, because if we don't know where we are going, what we're aiming for, which is the beginning, the start, how can we possibly control our thinking, Deborah?
Yeah, I would agree. And so it starts with the really setting that vision and the goal process. And what becomes very important behind the goal process is the reasons why you want to achieve those goals. The stronger that your reason is for wanting that particular goal, knowing that it's going to create something different for you or the other people in your lives, looking at the end results that that goal achievement is going to create for you, that is going to be the driver, the inspiration, the motivation to move you forward when things get difficult or when they get tough. So that why that has to be there. The reasons why you want to do the things that you do. That is the overarching driving force behind achieving anything.
So when we have the goal and the whys, then we have a plan. We need a plan. We need to know how to get from where we are to where we want to be. And that requires us to do some planning, which means that we need to think about all the things that are involved to get us to our destination, which clears our mind. It makes the unknowns known, not all of them, but we have a much clearer picture of what it is all about concerning our achievement.
Yeah, and you hit on the point there. It's a much clearer picture. It must be a clear picture. And when you take that plan and you put it into writing, you actually write it down and work out all the details and be more and more specific all the time. That is the plan and the process to move forward. The other thing is, think of it this way. I always think of it this way when I'm looking at something and I've written down a plan. I always think this or something better, this or something better. I'm kind of opening my brain up to any other possibilities that might give me the same results or an even better experience through the process.
And that takes us to this next one, the perception of challenges. Because you were saying just now that while you planning and thinking of all the possibilities, the opportunities, how things can work out differently, that is a positive mindset, because many people have an opposite experience, that they may be planning and all that they see are pitfalls, obstacles, challenges, problems. So can you imagine what happens to that person? That person will become stressed. That person does not have mental strength. Whereas the person who has a clear picture and sees opportunities, that is mental power, mental fitness. It enables the person to move forward and make progress and be happy and healthy physically and mentally.
And the really important thing that I want the audience to understand, this is not willpower. people think I'm going to dig my heels in, I'm going to have willpower, and I'm going to put all these principles into place. It is not about willpower. It is actually about actively developing the mental fitness muscles inside of your brain. It's training your brain, which requires specific daily exercises to develop the habit, which in turn actually create new neural pathways in the brain. And we know this from after about consistently doing this with MRI imaging, that we can actually see additional gray matter in the brain. So the willpower isn't going to cut it. We think that, oh, I'm just going to dig my heels in and I'm going to be consistent. That's not how it's done. It's done by actually increasing the mental fitness muscles in the brain.
And to make that happen, we need self-confidence. We need to believe in ourselves. Because if we don't believe that we can do it, then nothing is going to happen. If anything, we start moving backwards. We become destructive.
If anything, the idea of the self-confidence can, first of all, if we know that there's a way to increase our mental fitness muscles, then we can take the action and move forward and move into that sort of growth mindset where we're going, I'm going to give myself the opportunity to improve upon how I'm thinking, how I'm processing information, to allow me to have better opportunities in my life. With that comes additional self-confidence and greater trust in yourself, because you know that you're better focused, better disciplined, you follow through, you know that you are enough as a human being, you know that it's easier for you to now create a different identity of who you are as a person, to really step into that with full confidence and belief in who you are and what your capabilities are. That full faith becomes really important. So you can start off with a little bit of that confidence moving forward, but just imagine it's tenfold that after you develop your mental fitness muscles.
Totally agree with you. Self-confidence is knowing that there is a way forward, that there is a plan and things will work out. The road may not be a straight road, but it will lead to the solution. And we just need to find the way there. There is a way there. If there is a rock, we walk around it. I remember once seeing a cartoon where the one individual on his way was confronted by a rock, and all he saw was a problem. And then the next picture showed someone else walking around the rock and asked him, what problem? It's all a question of perception.
It is
Some people
completely
look
about
for a problem, others look for a solution.
Yeah, and that's the key, is that all these events that take place through our life, particularly as small children moving forward, we have our own perceptions, the filter through which we see the world. And so that filter creates, an opportunity, or the limiting opportunity, for us to create limiting beliefs and meanings. We attach meanings to certain things, and those limiting beliefs now create limiting decisions. So perception is everything. The one that is very mentally tough and very mentally fit knows that it's not a problem, but hey, it's a challenge. It's a different way of viewing things. And they come from a positive mindset, being more excited and curious and stepping up to the challenge, knowing, and with the excitement and the creativity, that they are bettering themselves. And I think that's a really important distinction to make.
Well put, Deborah. We've come to the end of our session. I want to summarize with this, that with a strong mind, you can better manage the stress and the pressure of life as a confident, committed, focused, and determined person. Imagine what you can achieve by developing mental toughness. That is the thought I want to leave everyone with. We have one comment that I'd like you to address, Deborah, if you're okay with that.
Sure. So Anna says, as we get older, do we become mentally more fit or less? So there is this thought process out there that the brain actually declines as we're aging. and that we lose these cognitive abilities to be able to think well. Look, if you're eating well, you have the right nutrition, you're supporting your brain with the right brain supplements, taking care of the brain, and you're doing mental fitness exercises, there's no reason why the brain would decline. So other than, if it's affected directly by disease or other things, your brain could be just as resilient as 60, 70, 80, 90 years of age as it is at 30, 40, and 50. So the key thing is having the benefit. If you want the benefit of improving how your brain functions, it's everything. And one last note I want to make is that Sarah Blakely, who is the founder of Spanx, she is a self-made billionaire. She says nothing is more important than being the mental fitness. The mindset is everything. And it is everything, because if you want some better results in any area of your life, if you first focus on developing yourself as a human being and becoming better as a human being and developing your brain and how your brain functions, the opportunities are endless for you, and they're endless for our audience.
Deborah, we have time for one more question, which doesn't appear in the comment section, but it's come through here on another platform on Facebook. And Eben asks, in general, are people getting mentally stronger or weaker in our society?
That is a really tough one, because it depends on the area that you're in. And here's the idea is there's very few people that and it's a much lower percentage of people that are so focused on their personal growth and development that they are actually actively working on themselves. These people are mentally tough. The society in general, I don't think, is a very resilient society. I think those individuals that have gone through World War I, World War II, all number of different, they become mentally tough. But we're also dealing with things like trauma and PTSD and other factors that come into place. So here's the thing. You can only work on you and to be able to support those people that you're immediately in touch with, which are your family members that you may have some influence over, is that focus on yourself. When other people see that you are working on your mental fitness and improving and the difference that it's making in your lives, you now have the ability to walk other people through the process. Take that step first and understand the ripple effect. You do not know how many people that you can impact, but it is millions of people just by taking one step.
Let's start with one step. Our time is up. Thank you, Deborah.
My pleasure.
To everyone else, to your continued good health and success. Goodbye until we meet next time.
Bye, everyone.